Hello, fellow figure skating fans and friends. My name is Justin. Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be making a video today with my good friend Kanishka, as you all probably recognize him from my previous videos. So today's video will be one where we discuss our super early, crazy preliminary predictions for the 2017-2018 figure skating season leading up to the Olympic Games. It's just going to be a casual discussion. Kanishka, are you ready?
I believe so.
Okay, I will start things off with the ladies' discipline because that is my favorite. So this past season, we saw Evgenia dominating the sport. Evgenia Medvedeva of Russia. She is now the two-time world champion, pretty much undefeated last season. Do you think that she will continue to reign the sport leading up to the Olympic Games?
Personally, I'm not 100% convinced just yet that she's going to be dominating as she did this past season, but I do have to give her credit in the fact that she's wildly consistent. Like, rarely does she ever make a mistake. And for someone who has watched this sport consistently for many years now, I have yet to see a skater that rarely, if not ever, makes mistakes. And Evgenia is such a tough cookie, and she has like fire in her belly, and that is something that I find so admirable about Evgenia, that she just goes for it each and every time, and rarely does that girl make mistakes.
Yeah, and if she keeps that up for this upcoming season, that means she will have 3 consistent seasons of being the top dog. That is very impressive in the long history of figure skating as a sport.
Definitely, yeah. Like, she's like superhuman in my opinion. Like, I don't know how she does it competition after competition, but whatever she's doing, it's working. So everyone else, all the other athletes in the world should definitely like look to see what she's doing and get on that same train, really.
That's correct. So we talked about this earlier. We both believe she will dominate the sport. However, you believe that there will be a smaller gap in points between Evgenia and whoever finishes in second place at some of the major competitions, such as Olympic, Worlds, and Europeans. Do you want to explain more on that?
Yeah, like the season that's leading up, or the Grand Prix season that's leading up to the Olympics are always very important, and there usually comes a skater or skaters that may start leaving their own mark. Like we saw that in the previous Olympic cycle with Yulia Lipnitskaya, who was relatively of an unknown as far as the senior ranks went, but by the time the Olympics came around, she was the media darling. And of course, no one would have predicted Alina Zagitova to win the Olympic gold medal at the Olympics as well.
No one.
So I believe that the judges might make it a close competition. So then when we do get to the Olympic Games, it'll be quite the competition between Evgenia and the rest of the ladies.
Well, one thing's for sure is I don't think the judges are going to begin next season with giving her 10s for PCS or 9.5s. Granted, that's kind of what she ended her season with at Worlds last year, but I think they're going to want to take it down a notch for the Grand Prix season and then maybe steadily increase her program component marks, which is the artistic mark, as the season goes on. But I think the Grand Prix final and Europeans should be very telling for Evgenia. But let's say it right now, she will be the 2018 Olympic gold medalist. We have it on the books.
At least in your predictions list, yeah.
Okay, so I also think that the other girls are pretty much going to be fighting for the Olympic silver medal. So let's talk about who's in contention for that. I'd have to say a strong contender is Kaetlyn Osmond, and not just because she's the reigning world silver medalist, but the judges love her, and not just in Canada. She has amazing jumps. They're huge, they're fast. Sometimes she gets a little too excited and carried away for her long programs. But imagine if she skates perfectly clean in her long program at the Olympics. The judges may give her super high program component marks, and she gets a lot of positive grade of execution marks because her technical elements are so good.
Yeah, like one thing that I've noticed from last season is that when Kaetlyn Osmond skates well, or at least near perfection, she will get the marks, both technical and the artistic or the presentation scores. And yes, Evgenia is in a league of her own, but the points are still relatively close. Where if Evgenia does make more than one mistake, there's a possibility that a skater like Kaetlyn Osmond can perhaps get right up there, which is why I'm not too certain to give Evgenia the Olympic gold medal. But there are obviously other skaters also vying for medals at the Olympic Games.
Caitlyn's pretty hot and cold sometimes, especially with the long program. I actually expect that to still be the case this upcoming season, just less cold and more hot, if that makes sense.
That'll be great. Yeah, that'll be definitely great, because I feel like with her, it's almost like a confidence thing, along with the fact that her jumps are a little bit wild. So hopefully during this off season, which we're all like waiting for like something to happen.
Waiting so much.
Waiting. So hopefully they are getting excited by just watching this video.
And you know what? I told you this before too, so I'll repeat it on video. I don't always think it's the best thing when you watch Kaetlyn Osmond in interviews and she just says, oh, just go out there, have fun. It's all about having fun. And I'm like, okay, Kaetlyn, yes, have fun, but at some point I want you to be vicious and want to win. So sometimes I think that slight change in her mentality of having fun versus wanting to win, once she makes that change internally, it can make a big difference. But so far I hear a lot of having fun from her, and I'm like, okay, having fun does not make an Olympic champion. But she is greatly talented. Now, who I wish was that talented in rotating her jumps would be my girl, Ashley Wagner of the United States. I've been back and forth the past few days about where I would place her. Kanishka, I'm putting it back on the table. I think she has the shot at the Olympic podium because her work ethic doesn't seem to be diminishing at all. She is still super hungry, even after winning her world silver medal in 2016. She is still not satisfied enough to leave the sport. I think that hunger is going to take her a long way during the Olympics. And I think with Evgenia dominating, Ashley will still get to play her underdog role, which she loves to be in. What is your take?
I agree that she'll be a worthy contender for the Olympic podium, especially after watching Jackie Wang's video of her making up her program. I feel like compared to the last Olympic cycle where she initially had that Romeo and Juliet program that David Wilson choreographed for her, but she was not feeling it initially, like this long program that she'll be skating to La La Land, she seems to be very excited about it. And she hasn't even competed in it yet, and she's already excited, which makes me believe that she is excited and that when she goes out and performs this program, she will always have that exuberance and happiness, and that'll hopefully allow her to skate well in competition.
Yeah, Shaylin also seems like the perfect choreographer for her. Kudos to Jackie Wang, did a great job on that video. I watched all 15 minutes while at work. Oops, but it was so nice to see Ashley so excited about the creative process of this program. I have a feeling it's going to be a special moment, and hopefully that moment peaks at the Olympics where it should. It's just about getting those jumps around.
And we all know that she can do it.
She can. So I think it's two things. One, her making sure her jumps are around, and two, the judges being tough on her. Because we saw at the World Figure Skating Championships in Helsinki that she did her rotations, completed all of her rotations in short program. The judges were just not kind to her with the GOEs.
And I hope that she's working on this during the off season. Obviously, she's constructing a new free skate long program, and she's going back to hip hip chin chin for her short program. So hopefully during this off season, she's really trying to get those grades of execution up. Whether that means adding in more transitions after the jumps, whether it's getting more flowing edge out of those triples, whatever it might be, to really garner as many points as she possibly can in the technical mark.
Hmm. Here's two things I'd like to see from Ashley leading up to the Olympics: making the Grand Prix final, medaling there. So, not that sounds like two things. One thing, medaling at the Grand Prix final. It could be a bronze, I don't mind, but I think it should be a silver. A bronze, I'll take. And then it would be really great for her to win nationals. I mean, we do not want a repeat of 2014 Sochi.
I I agree. Like this season is very important as far as cementing who Ashley Wagner is. It's almost like leading up to the Boston Worlds where she has to like prove herself. And I believe if she can do what you just said, like win a medal at the Grand Prix final, hopefully like a silver, because I feel like bronze is like okay, but silver would be like, oh, you beat so and so. And then winning the nationals, being the leading lady going into the Olympics, I feel will allow the judges to be like, so this is who the United States wants to show that is their number one.
That's right. And I want to put something out here. Can we not highlight, we being not us, but the media and fans, Ashley will not be able to escape the question of what happened in 2014. And I was like, can we not make nationals such a nerve-wracking competition for our skaters? Please. But she's just going to get reminded of that over and over again. So hopefully she does some mental preparation as well.
Yeah, she obviously did that mental preparation leading up to the Worlds in Boston, where Boston was like where the 2014 U.S. Nationals were held, and there was like a little bit of like.
I remember that.
So hopefully she can work out the kinks leading up to the U.S. Nationals this coming season.
Hmm. Who else do you think has a shot at the silver medal at the Olympics?
So we discussed Kaetlyn Osmond and Ashley Wagner so far. Well, the great thing about Russian ladies is that there's always another young lady.
Let's talk about those two young ladies, or the young lady.
So I'm forgetting her name. It's
Zagitova is the last name. I think first name is Alina. I'll look it up while you talk, but Zagitova is the last name.
Zagitova, yeah, and she is the reigning world junior champion, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and she's also infamously known for doing those difficult jumps with her hands over the head, which garners more points in grades of execution. I'm intrigued to see if she will play the game like she did last season, where she did practically all her triple jumps at the back end of her program. But she is definitely a wild card as far as making the Olympic podium, and I wouldn't put it past her to perhaps even aim as high as the gold medal.
So I can't comment because I don't follow the juniors as much, but it sounds like from everything that I'm reading is that she is wildly consistent as well and plays the points game. So
Yeah,
I don't expect her to have the highest program component marks, but then again, I feel like I've lost all faith in the judges to award those accurately. So if she's consistent enough, she may go from winning a bronze at her Grand Prix events to potentially winning at some of the major events later on in the season.
definitely. Look at in the men's discipline. Obviously, last season we saw Nathan Chen have like a breakthrough season, where the season before he was not really garnering the program components, but as the season progressed, it looked like the judges were like, okay, this kid is very consistent, so now let's just start adding up the program component marks as well. So obviously the judges are paying attention to every competition, and if this young lady is very consistent, I expect her program components to increase with the competitions that she ends up going through. So
That's true. Who I can comment on, so moving on to the next skater, is Marin Honda. And I'm not sure if she's necessarily contending for an Olympic silver medal, but she could be a dark horse. She is so good. And I'm commenting on this because I've seen her skating, and she seems to be getting a strong push from the Japanese Federation that she is the next Japanese star. And I'm not gonna lie, she has the star power, she has the it quality in her skating, and the technical elements are there. It doesn't sound like she's as crazy rock consistent as the Russians are, but she seems pretty good.
Yeah, the great thing about the Japanese ladies is it's very similar to Russia where there's always someone that comes in the scene the next season, and Marin Honda is no exception. The only thing that may prevent Marin Honda from making the Olympic team is now, based on the results of last year's World Championships, there's only 2 spots. And a lot of people in the skating world who are saying, should one of those spots go to Satoko Miyahara, who was once a world silver medalist and also the silver medalist at last season's Grand Prix final. But there is only 2 spots that are available. And with skaters like Wakaba Higuchi and Mai Mihara going to the World Championships and showing that they have those powerful jumps, it makes me question which of these 4 ladies that I just mentioned will get those 2 important Olympic berths.
You make a good point. So, Satoko, I'm not sure how her season is going to go, honestly. So, she missed the World Figure Skating Championships in Helsinki because she was out on injury. I don't know why my gut feeling says that she's not going to have a spectacular season. I think with so many other ladies doing such high jumps, that Satoko with her tiny landings and her tiny jumps, she's not going to get awarded the proper grade of execution marks, which I think is wrong. Just because her jumps aren't high doesn't mean they're not good. But that's not how the judges seem to be viewing it. I don't know. She's going to be consistent enough. I'd say she has a good chance at making the Olympic team. I'm not sure how great her season is going to be. Now, please don't come attacking me. I wish the best for her. I just have a gut feeling, maybe it's the fact that she missed the World Championships that's holding me back from assuming she's going to be rock solid great this upcoming season.
Yeah, beautiful skater. Jumps have always been a little bit iffy, so it'll be interesting to see how the judges score her, because I believe that the Japanese Skating Federation will be watching that very closely, because obviously their ultimate goal is to get a skater on the podium. So
That's true. You know what? I think Satoko Miyahara needs one more transformation, and it will help her out her program component marks. I feel like she needs to be more expressive in the face and project upwards and outwards when she skates, and choose the right program that really stands out there. No more soft, subtle music, because that doesn't do her any favors with her having such a small stature on the ice.
yeah, it's very interesting because when
Maybe
she
a
came out,
coaching change, choreographer change, but I think she needs one tiny transformation to like go up against Evgenia.
yeah, that it'll be very difficult to say the least. But she has won a world medal, a silver, back in China back in 2015 to the program of Miss Saigon. So maybe if she can find something that is very similar to Miss Saigon feel, maybe that's the approach that she should take. But I am intrigued to watch her and see how her season plays out.
Excellent. We have Wakaba Habaguchi and Mai Mihara, as you mentioned earlier, that are right below her, who, really want that Olympic berth. Now, let's see, who have we talked about? So, Evgenia, Kaetlyn, Ashley, Zagitova, and Marin Honda. So, I honestly think that could sound like who qualifies for the Grand Prix final. There's still a few more skaters to talk about, though. Why don't you begin talking about Anna Pogorilaya of Russia?
So I love Anna Pogorilaya. I know she had a dismal performance at the World Championships, unfortunately.
That was bad.
And it broke my heart, honestly. But I love her. There's something about her skating that is very ethereal. She's very gorgeous on the ice. And I feel like she's sometimes overlooked, especially in Russian skating. But in my opinion, she has something so special. And if she ever wanted to come to the United States and skate, I would gladly accept her because I love her. I love her skating. I
She's
think that's
gorgeous.
she just needs the right music and right programs and consistency. And you got someone that I can actually see myself cheering for. So I love Anna Pogorilaya, and everyone can take note of that.
Absolutely. I agree with everything, so I don't need to say anything else. Agree with you. Yeah, her jumps are great, gets the spin levels. Maybe if she could seem a little happier skating during her programs, it may just be how she interprets such dramatic music. But no, I always love watching her skate.
Speaking of dramatic music, I hope that for this coming season, she kind of like tones it down a little bit, like show a different side to her skating, because she obviously has a very graceful and ethereal quality about her. So if she can like approach her programs in a different way, perhaps it'll help her overall packaging, consistency, and maybe get the marks that she deserves.
Yeah, Anna's going to be an interesting one to follow because she is not guaranteed a spot on that Olympic team.
Agreed. Yeah, there's so many ladies that are contending for an Olympic berth. Like,
Okay, so predictions. I think she will have an okay Grand Prix, and I think she will get a lot better in the second half of the season. I think she's going to fight at Russian nationals and Europeans.
if she makes the Europeans, that is, right?
True. Or if she makes a Grand Prix final. But, I don't see her winning the Grand Prix events for some reason. We'll just have to see.
Yeah.
Okay, next skater who I really hope makes the Grand Prix final. But it's going to be tough. You know who I'm mentioning. My girl, Gabrielle Daleman, reigning world bronze medalist. Now, some people are really rude on the internet and saying that she won that bronze medal by chance. No, that is not the case. She was strong enough to withhold all of the pressure on her because the people who skated before her made mistakes and the door was open, but she could have easily crumbled like some other skaters would have, but she did not. She rose to the occasion and skated one of the best long programs, at least internationally, that I've seen from her. Now, Gabby Delman has also won the silver medal at the Four Continents. She is just missing medals at her Grand Prix events. It's going to be tough with her two assignments, but I think she can do it. If I had to guess, I'd say, okay, I think she'll at least win a bronze medal at either of her Grand Prix events, but it's going to be tough. And she also has a chance at the gold at both of her events. Boom. I think she had such a dream season last year, at least in the second half of the season. I think that's going to carry on over at the start of the season because she usually does great short programs and builds up the long later on. But if she could do both a clean short and long, I wouldn't see why she can't medal at her Grand Prix.
Yeah, certainly agree with those points. And as a fan of sports in general, I feel like sometimes we play our favorites and we are easily putting down skaters that are not our favorites.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm proud of Gabrielle Daleman for just the way that she was able to rise up the ranks over the course of 3 seasons. I think we discussed it in one of our Skype calls one time where she went from like 20 something to like top 10 and now third in the world. And as someone who's just watching the sport, and I cannot help but like cheer on someone that just is willing to put in the work, the hard work, and just continue to grow as a skater. And yes, there are going to be people on the internet that will say like she won a medal at the Worlds by a fluke, but I admire an athlete who just keeps going and keeps working hard, training their butt off, and attaining one of their goals. So I'm really proud of Gabrielle for what she was able to achieve last season, and I'm looking forward to seeing her hopefully continue to build on that confidence.
I will be her loudest cheerleader. No doubt
And
about that.
I'll gladly cheer her on as well.
Okay, let's see. Do you think any other U.S. lady is in contention for an Olympic medal or a Grand Prix final qualification?
It's very difficult to say just because we have no idea. Like, no offense to U.S. Ladies or just U.S. skating, but it seems like we are always hot or cold. And we have a great depth of skaters. We have Chen, who placed fourth at the World Championships. We have Gracie Gold, who people have been pulling for many seasons now. But
We also have Marin Honda, who's very experienced.
We have Mirai Nagasu, and sometimes the nerves get the best of her, but hopefully this season she will be able to have all her act together. There's Mariah Bell, like the list just keeps going on and on and on. So instead of me making predictions for like medals at the Olympics for it or anyone that's in contention, I just hope that the U.S. ladies, they just all skate well and the right skater will make the Olympic team.
Okay, I'm going to be a tad bit more blunt. I think the U.S. skaters to watch out for internationally are going to be Chen. That's amazing to be fourth at your first World Championships and to help the U.S. secure 3 spots for the ladies at the Olympic Games. That's huge. I'm just still unsure about boot problems that seem to pop up at the most inconvenient times. If those issues are behind her, if she skates clean programs, she could challenge for medals at a Grand Prix. You know, she's probably looking at top 5 at the Olympics at best, which is not anything to laugh at either. And then Gracie Gold is the biggest question mark. I go back and forth on whether I think she's going to come back this season stronger than ever. You know, with the coaching change, I've got to say, I saw her at Stars on Ice this season. In the summer, she came to Seattle. Did not look very fit, if I must say so myself, did double jumps. And she fell on a spin, and it was not a good fall. So that worried me. I honestly don't know what to make of her season. A part of me thinks there's a better chance of her not doing so well than knocking it out of the park and coming back strong.
Yeah, that's why I think that everyone should be watching the ladies with much interest, because we all know that Ashley, she tends to love that role of underdog, but we have yet to see other ladies in the United States really contend. Like, yes, Chen finished fourth at the World Championships, but then at the World Team Trophy, she was not skating very well. And that was only a month after the World Championships. So it'll be interesting to see how the Grand Prix season plays out for all the U.S. ladies. And from there, I think we will have a clear indication of who will most likely be challenging for the Olympic team.
I have another question for you. What do you think about Karolina Kostner this season?
Karolina Kostner, beautiful skater.
How do you think she will do? That is my question.
Well, obviously she'll make the Olympic team for Italy. There's no doubt about that.
Okay, she will be at the Olympics.
Is she in the same condition she was in Sochi? That I question. But I know she's been working with Russian coach Alexei Mishin, who's a technical coach. And perhaps now that it's the off season, she's probably training more difficult triples, because I know she does the triple toe. But she would definitely need a triple flip, triple toe to contend for a medal at pretty much any competition that she enters this coming season.
Yeah, let's hope she doesn't have kind of a letdown season as Malasada did last year. You know, let's say, you know, she doesn't get the medals or the highest placements. As long as she has some really beautiful performances this season, I think that will be a good accomplishment for her. She carries on her legacy.
Definitely. She's kind of like that. She's kind of like Ashley, where they're like pushing the age limit, really. And
what they're doing is amazing. Gosh. Older than like the Zagitovas and Evgenias and the Pogorilayas and still doing triples.
Yeah, so I believe that if Karolina can get a triple flip, triple toe in her arsenal and a triple Lutz, she will be contending for sure.
Great.
Because she has the program components.
Any other skaters you want to mention internationally who could be a force at the Olympics or the major events? I think we covered most of them.
I think we discussed most of them as well. So
Yeah. I mean, I think Elizabeth Tursunbayeva of Kazakhstan, who I think has the core goods, just needs to bring it. I think she's pretty good about rotating her jumps, not all the time, but maybe if she has, hopefully she doesn't have a growth spurt that affects her jumps. That would not be good.
and she's been on the scene for many years now. So she's been always like vying for like top 10, never really contending for medals. So we will see exactly what she's capable of. Because if anything that we learn from the men's discipline is that a skater from a relatively unknown country like Kazakhstan, Dennis 10, can achieve a world medal and an Olympic medal. So I wish her well as well.
Same here. Okay, so now let's move on to the men's discipline. Kanishka, why don't you start off? Do you think Yuzuru Hanya will win the Olympic gold again?
That's tough to call. There's so many great men that are vying for that gold medal now that it is way too early to call. We have Shoma Uno, Nathan Chen, Javier Fernandez. The list just goes on and on and on
Patrick
and on.
Chan.
Patrick Chan. So
Yeah, I feel like so we just finished discussing ladies for a good amount of time, but for men, it's very difficult and different because it all depends on the state of their jumps. All these
agree.
men's are doing so many quads, because it's high risk, high reward. But high risk means there's a good chance of you falling and losing your points. It almost seems like some of the major events, the men's champion isn't necessarily like the coronation or the crown of the best male skater in the world. It's about the man who lands most of his jumps at that competition while still having a good program component score.
I know the interesting thing is like many years back, back in the day, the one quote that I remember Dick Button saying was like, usually the champion at every event is the one that makes the least amount of mistakes. But then now we look at the current judging system, and it actually rewards those high risks of attempting multiple quads. So like as long as you get your rotation, then you get the points for that element, but minus GOE. So it's interesting to see how this season plays out for the men because they're attempting multiple quads. And if you're rotating those quads, then there's a potential that your technical mark will still be higher than someone like Jason Brown, who only has one quad in his arsenal, the quad toe.
Yeah, I don't know where to start with the men's. I do want to mention one thing. I think Nathan Chen will be a force to reckon with.
I think so too. Like he's very consistent on his quadruple jumps, and he has the most variety as far as the quad jumps go.
Yeah, and I apologize, I don't have the quote or the source with me right now, but I remember reading an interview with him where he said that he plans on bringing back more artistry into his programs this season. Apparently, he intentionally left some out in this past season to focus on the jumps, which I'm sorry, he doesn't need to practice those. He was doing quads at Stars on Ice.
Oh, was he really?
He landed the quad toe about 2 times, I believe.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, under show lights in the dark. So I think Nathan Chen he's going to challenge for the gold medal at every competition he enters. Someone who I'm unsure about is Javier Fernandez. Yes, he will have amazing programs. Yes, he can sell the program, reach out to the audience. Not as stable on the jumps. And even if he's all clean, doesn't he only have 2 type of quad jumps, right? The toe and the salchow?
I believe so, yeah. Like, I think Javier will be always a crowd favorite. It's all about those jumps, because when those jumps work, he gets high reward, whether he's only attempting 2 different types of quads or not. But when he makes mistakes on those quads, then it really opens the door for all the other skaters ending with him.
You know, I'm not going to lie. A few minutes ago, when you said, I'm going to take it way back in the day, I thought you were going to talk about the time period about 4 years ago where Patrick Chan was a clear men's leader and the term Chanflation was used because he could fall in a program twice and still win a competition. Even now to back then, a few years ago, men's figure skating is very different. Patrick Chan very much, I think, is an outsider for the podium at some of the major events this season. It sounds like he's working on it. It sounds like he recognizes his shortcomings, which are the variety of quads and how many are in a program. But it sounds like he's going to address that this season. I still think it's not set in stone for him, though, to win a lot of the competitions. He's going to have to work on the jumps.
Speaking of inflation marks, maybe we should start a new hashtag, quadflation, because you attempt the quad, you fall, you still get more points. Maybe I should start that on Twitter one.
Go for it.
Inflation, But kudos to Patrick Chan, though. This late in his career, he is now attempting two different types of quads, including the quad Salchow. So, as wildly as inconsistent as he has been, I'm proud of him for coming through last season, attempting two different types of quads in Salchow at least twice in competition. So, kudos to Patrick on that.
That's right, and he's been able to retain his skating skills. Beautiful, deep edges. Ugh, so gorgeous. Although I do have one prediction, early, specific season prediction. I know we're trying to focus on the major events, but I can't help this. So Patrick Chan has had a history of beating Yuzuru Hanya at Skate Canada. This upcoming season, they go against each other at NHK Trophy. I think Patrick will not win that competition.
So you think that it'll flop, yeah?
Yes. Let's see. You know who I'm really excited about? So you know this. I'm not sure if the viewers do. I really like Vincent Zhou of the US. I get that he's still up and coming, but come on. He is the reigning world junior champion. That is a big deal for us. And his quads look pretty secure. The only thing that needs improvement is his basic skating in between the elements, which just takes time. But I think his jumps are secure enough that I believe he can make the Olympic team. Actually, that's my predictions right now. I think Nathan Chen, Vincent Zhou, I think everybody else will be fighting for that third spot. Sorry, but I'm going to put it out there. I really like Vincent. He has shortcomings, yes, but I think the fact that he can land these quads is going to be a good thing at big international events.
Yeah, it must have definitely been very disappointing for him to finish with the silver medal at the U.S. Nationals last season, but then obviously was not sent to the World Championships. I think it was because he did not have the minimum scores, but he did go to a challenger event.
He eventually got the minimum scores.
So he could have been named for the World Championships. So that must have been a little bit disappointing for him not to go to the World Championships. But it was the right decision on the part of United States Figure Skating to send Jason Brown.
I mean, if you're going to miss Senior Worlds, the next best thing to do is to win Juniors.
Exactly. So I think now he's a little bit more hungry, and he knows that he's more than capable of performing brilliantly and making a team. So as long as he's consistent with his quadruple jumps, I believe that he is definitely up there to make the Olympic team. When the Nationals, I would be a little bit more hesitant to say, just because we have Nathan Chen, who has been on the senior circuit for 2 seasons now, compared to Vincent Zhou, which would be his first season.
That is correct. Let's see. We could discuss which other U.S. men could be the Olympic team, but we don't want to turn this into a Nationals preview. We'll wait on that video. Tell me about the Russian men who you think can contend for some top Olympic spots.
So before I go into the top Russian spots,
okay.
I just wanted to give a small little shout out to the Russian young man that I've actually been supporting for a couple years now, but unfortunately he's retired now. His name is Adyan. He was a gorgeous skater. Unfortunately, he had a lot of injuries supposedly and had to unfortunately retire. hopefully we'll see him in a different discipline, or maybe he can take a few years off and then come back like a Josh Ferris.
Yeah, I saw the news and I was really heartbroken because I actually thought he had real potential in the future, and he's also so young.
Yeah, and it seems like these quad jumps are really taking a big toll on these athletes' bodies, and unfortunately, that's just the way that the sport is progressing. And I
What
wish
can you
him,
do?
yeah, I wish him well though. Okay, so now to go back to your question about the top Russian skaters, I believe there is 2 spots available. I believe that it'll most likely be Maxim Kovtun and Mikhail Kolyada. It seems like that has been the world team for about 2 years now. I could be totally wrong with that statistic, but it seems like those are the 2 skaters that they're kind of like pulling for. But Maxim has been very wildly inconsistent in the between last Olympic cycle to now. So I'm not too certain about him, but it seems like Kolyada is continuously rising with his abilities. And I believe that Kolyada will be a definite. Kovtun, I would question. And I feel so sad saying that because Kovtun missed out on making the Olympic team last season, or last Olympic cycle, because of Evgeny Pashenko coming back. So
That's right. So Kolyada surprised everyone at Boston Worlds. Even me in the audience, he skated his short program in one of the first groups and then ended up placing so high. But I feel like last season it was a tad bit more up and down for him. And I just don't know what to make of him this season. But I would say he's the top Russian man.
Yeah.
And deserves an Olympic spot.
Definitely, I agree with that.
Okay, I know we shifted away from talking about US men, but I'm just double checking the results from the last World Championships now. And Jason Brown was 7th at Worlds.
Very respectable.
Yeah, and Jason Brown, I think a lot of times he gets left out of the conversation because of the lack of quads, but we have to remember everything else about his skating that makes up for that. And he does play the strategy no quad in the short, but attempt it in the long. And he doesn't place too far behind in the short program. He's definitely behind, but not too far behind because his skating skills are great. His choreography is really super. Edges are nice. Musicality level is high. Everything about his skating is great. Spins. But here's the thing. He has to be absolutely perfect because there's no quad. So no under-rotating the triple toe of his combination. That landing on the triple axel has to be secure, which has been getting better. But I think Jason's going to do a respectable job on the Grand Prix. I'm not sure about making the Grand Prix final, and then we'll see about the Olympics.
Yeah, being 7th at Worlds without a quad is actually really respectable, as I was saying earlier. And I'm an optimist, so I believe that if he can work on those quads during this off-season and can perhaps come through with like a Patrick Chen of 2012, 2013, 2014, where he at least has the quad toe and attempts 2 of those and lands them. Again, I'm an optimist, so I'm not sure whether Jason will be able to do that, but if he was able to pull off 2 quads, in the short, 2 in the long, there could be 1 in combination, 1 one just by itself. I think that that's all he really needs. He has everything else going for him. If you can just figure out some way to mentally and physically land that quadruple jump, I think that he is really one to contend with. I think everyone can agree that his skating skills are out of this world. His flexibility, his spins, there's more praise than negative. But for some reason,
a lot of people focus on the main negative.
Yeah. So,
AKA Phil Hirsch.
Phil Hirsch, people who just watch the sport because they want to see the technical content. But I really do hope that Jason rises up to the occasion and really gets those quads in his arsenal, because if he has those, he's definitely someone to watch out for.
I agree.
Again, I'm an optimist. So.
Someone that I realized that we did not discuss in detail, obviously he's a contender. Shoma Uno, our friend Nicole, shout out to Nicole, her favorite male skater. He is definitely in contention for the Olympic podium. And a great season.
He had a very great season last season. I know there are a lot of people that might criticize Shoma for whatever it might be his technique, whether it's his overall skating. His jumps are a little bit wild, but he does land them, and he was the first man to land a quad flip.
And he still does them.
And he still does them. So, and he does multiple quads as well. So I wouldn't put it past Shoma to have a great season. But it seems like this season will be very telling through the early competitions. So he will definitely need to come out with like a bang.
Sometimes I feel bad for Shoma because I think having Hanyu being his country teammate actually doesn't do him a lot of good. It hurts him more than helps him. You know what I mean? I feel like if Hanyu wasn't in the picture, he'd have like higher program component marks. Yes, I understand that he does these difficult jumps. Yes, they're not landed perfectly, but I'm actually really impressed on how he pulls them off for someone with such a tiny stature. Like, sure, he can't land in the perfect position like Yuzuru Hanyu. He'd have to have like a different body to do that. But I'm so impressed on what he's able to pull off, both technical and artistically. So we'll have to watch for him. And I feel like there was one more person I was going to mention, and it just slipped my mind.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying about like Japanese skating, like always being in the shadow of another skater. I think Yuzu was in that same situation a couple years back where Daisuke Takahashi was like the number one talked about skater, and here is a talented young man, Yuzuru Hanyu, who really wanted to make a name for himself as well. Obviously he did and won the Olympic gold medal in Sochi, but it's always hard being that skater that's in the shadow of another great skater. So hopefully Shoma will be able to make a name for himself this season and perhaps even challenge Yuzu on the technical mark.
Potentially. Okay, let's move on to pairs. And I gotta say, before we started filming, I had it in my mind, Sui and Han of China are the ones to beat. They're just the ones to beat. But then I went back and looked at the results from the World Figure Skating Championships in Helsinki, and I realized that Sui and Han barely beat Aliona and Bruno of Germany by 2 points. So I think it's a lot closer in reality than it is in my head. I think that sometimes the Germans aren't as clean as Sui and Han, is that correct? But they do big elements that garners points. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
I think it comes down a lot to taste and also the technical content. Mm-hmm. But it seems like whenever we talk about those two teams together, it's always about like taste. It comes down to personal taste.
Because they are different.
Yeah, Sui and Han are known for their elegance and like their classic lines, while Aliona and Bruno, they really do go for it in the technical. They're kind of like Duhamel and Radford in that sense, where they really do challenge the sport technically. And I think last season, after the World Championships, a lot of people were saying like, so this definitely gives the Chinese team heads up going into the Olympics. And I kind of agree, but it would be great to see Alyona Savchenko finally win an Olympic gold medal. Again, it goes back to like me always wanting to root for the veteran of the sport. And yeah, it would be a great coronation to see Alyona finally win a gold medal. But again, it's too early to call the Olympics. But I'm pretty sure it'll come down to those two, though.
I feel like pairs and men's are going through something similar within the sport where they're pushing the technical boundaries. We talked about this a few minutes ago with men being all about the quads, high risk, high reward. Guess what? Pairs are now doing quads as well. Sui and Han are doing the quad twist, and then Aliona and Bruno are going for the throw triple axel. I mean, both very difficult elements. And, you know, they can be game changers. The gold medal could be decided on who executes their big element better between those two pair teams.
It's very difficult, yeah. And I know Alexa and Chris have a quad twist in their arsenal as well. So maybe it's going to be the name of the game, that either the throw triple axel, throw quad twist, anything that is out of the ordinary might be what it comes down to.
Yeah, I'm reminding myself right now of the results from the World Figure Skating Championships in Helsinki. So we have the Russians in third and fourth who don't attempt the quads. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm looking here. No quad attempt from Ksenia Stolbova or Fedor Klimov.
The interesting thing about Ksenia Stolbova and Fedor Klimov is that they do have a triple, double,
that is true. I see that. Side by side, triple toe, triple toe.
So that is something that, if consistent and gets the high grades of execution, could help them in the technical mark. Because I remember a few seasons back at the Grand Prix final where they did that and they defeated Duhamel and Radford, I believe. And I think it was a shock to many, but you can never count out any Russian pair team. Like, they've had this tradition of having really strong pair skaters.
And they're not afraid to push the technical envelope. So just because they didn't do it in the past doesn't mean they can't do it one season later. And I got to correct my mistake. The fourth place finisher at Worlds, Evgenia Tarasova and Vladimir Morozov, they did a quad twist. So my mistake. But they only did a triple toe, double toe as their side-by-side jump. So it always it evens out somehow.
Yeah, I think consistency will be the name of the game for the consistency, and technical prowess will be the telling of the bronze medalist at the Olympic Games.
Do you think it's going to be between the two Russians at the Olympics for the bronze medal?
Again, I'm not 100% certain. It really, last season was a shock, really, for me, watching pairs, because I never thought that Evgenia Tarasova and, I'm forgetting his first name, and Morozov,
Vladimir,
were having such a great season. Like, they won the Grand Prix final, and everyone was like, where did that come from? So this season, it's too early to call anything, and we are still not 100% certain whether the reigning Olympic champions, Maxim and Tatiana, are coming back even after giving birth to a child. So we shall see exactly how this season starts to play out. But yeah, there's just so many great pairs teams out there that are pushing the technical that I would not want to be a judge this season, really.
So is there a part of you that thinks that Megan Duhamel and Eric Radford have a chance at making a strong comeback and being on that Olympic podium?
Well, you can never count them out. They definitely do push.
They're not the favorites for the podium, but don't count them out.
That's what I'm thinking right now, because they do push the envelope as far as the technical content goes. But I think last season it must have been very disappointing being the second pair team from Canada, because they're usually leading the Canadian pack. But they are going back to that Muse free skate of theirs, which did garner them a world championship. But then again, it's very early to call.
And I apologize, I haven't read every single article, but it sounds like they might be changing the strategy because the reward isn't worth the risk for the throw triple axel attempt. They might still be attempting the throw quad, though. I don't have all the details. I apologize. You all can correct me in the comments. That's fine. But it does sound like they're changing their strategy for this upcoming season, and I just don't know how it's going to work. I don't see them dominating the Grand Prix. Maybe winning Skate Canada, but the Grand Prix final will be telling for them. I think most of the top teams will be at the Grand Prix final, minus the reigning Olympic champions. We'll see if they choose to compete later on.
They need at least one difficult element to make them stand out, whether it's the throw triple axel or the throw quad salchow. Whichever one is more consistent, I believe that they should be attempting that.
Along with the side-by-side lutz.
Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Now, talk about one of your favorite Canadian pair teams, which made a big splash last season at Worlds.
So last season, I really fell in love with Lubov and Moskovich. Their free skate in particular to, I forgot the piece of music. but nonetheless, like I fell in love with that team after watching them skate to their last season, and they definitely made a name for themselves at the World Championships in Helsinki, where they came out as the top pair team for Canada, and they have such a beautiful connection between the two that it kind of goes back to that whole traditional romantic style of skating that is very well known in the pairs event. And I personally love them. I don't know what everyone else thinks of them, but if they continue to be consistent and the other teams struggle, I believe that they will be contending for like top 5 at every event.
No, they're good. And they've gelled more with each other as the years have gone on. So they're really growing into their partnership really well, I would say. Key thing is the jumps, especially the side-by-sides.
Yep.
Please stick to the landings. And then I just want to say this. I think the U.S. pair that's being sent to the Olympics will be Alexa and Chris. I would give it to them. As long as they performed well this upcoming season, I think they will clearly be the leading U.S. pair team. They usually are. So actually, last year or the year before, it might have been close between them and then Haven Denny and Brandon Fraser. But I think Alexa and Chris will be on top. Alexa is one fighter, and they're not Olympians yet. They haven't gone, so they are going to be hungry. Hopefully, they're not too hungry for that Olympic spot that it makes them falter during the national championships.
The great thing about U.S. pair skating is it seems like every season there's someone that just breaks through. Yeah, we don't do 100% well internationally, but there always seems to be, when it comes to nationals, that there's always that flash for themselves. And I agree with you that Alexa and Chris deservedly will hopefully make the Olympic team, because they did secure us that Olympic berth. And
I'm so upset it's just one spot, though. Ugh, we get 2 at Worlds, though.
Yeah, I guess rules are rules. But before I go into anything, I just wanted to say, Alexa, if you're watching this, thank you for being such a great inspiration. Like you, I had a health scare this past season, and just to see the comeback that you and Chris made by the time the World Championships came around, that was very inspiring to me and kept me going. So thank you very much for that.
You want to be really inspired? Watch their comeback to competition last season at 4 continents.
Yeah, just seeing them on the ice, oh my god. And that Ghost program. Love. But yeah, so I believe that Alexa and Chris will definitely make the Olympic team. They are the most consistent, and they do get the most recognition internationally. There are obviously other pair teams that are also contending for that one spot. And I'm sure I'll let you do some of the talking, but talk about Tara Kane and Timothy Leduc.
I'm trying to think. I didn't expect to talk about them during this video because I consider them more national contenders, but we'll see. They won't be winning medals on the Grand Prix. Okay. I think they have a good shot at making the world team. How's that? They are good individual skaters, and they are a good match for each other. This past season was very good for them, considering it was their first season together, and Tim Leduc hadn't even been practicing pairs in a few years. I just think they need some more time, but they have the basics there. They look good together on the ice. They have some difficult elements, the main one being the side-by-side triple loops. Whew, really impressive. Need to work on the triple twist. I think they are our hope for the future. And I hope I did not just jinx them by saying that. But I do think Ashley Kane and Tim Leduc are in it for the long run. I think they have a good shot at making the next Olympic team.
Yeah, I don't know whether they'll make the Olympic team, but I do feel like they will do... I don't know, maybe I'm just going off a hunch right now, but I do feel like they will make a good splash on the Grand Prix season. I predict like 4th and 5th at their events.
I mean,
So
do they have two? I thought they only had one. Sorry for that noise.
I'm not 100% sure, but I do feel like they will be contending this season as far as like their Grand Prix go.
I will double check because this is important. Okay, so Ashley Kane and Tim LeDuc. You know, Kanishka, they are not assigned any Grand Prix events.
Interesting. Do we have a pair?
They could get Skate America TBD. I think that's what everyone's hoping for, but I know I don't see them on the roster.
Okay, so I hope they get the Skate America one and definitely make a splash. I hope that they go to Nebelhorn like they did last season and definitely medal there as well. It'll definitely establish them as someone that deservedly should make the world team.
So I have a different opinion about the Skate America TBD spot. We have quite a few pair teams that just have one Grand Prix. I feel like why not give it to them, one of them? That's my opinion, though. So Marissa,
So who are those?
Marissa and Mervin, or Tara and Danny?
So
Because Alexa and Chris and Haven and Brandon got Skate America. My heart, who I would like to see at Skate America would be Marissa and Mervin. I'm sorry, I'm not the biggest fans of Tara and Danny. So Marissa and Mervin, it'd be good to have them out on ice twice. But then again, we could always work on giving our future pairs some experience. I would give it to Ashley Kane and Tim LeDuc.
yeah, the only thing about like I love Marissa Castelli and I love Mermaid Chen, but the fact that they can't even go to the Olympic Games this season, I feel like that kind of like just if I was part of USFS, no offense, no, I'm not putting down their partnership or anything, but I would rather give it to a pair team that may qualify for the Olympic Games just to see how they stack up with the rest of the international field. So that's why I was thinking maybe I'll give it to...
Yeah, my mentality goes to rewarding the reigning silver medalist, national silver medalist. But I get that they're in a different position, so we'll have to see what happens.
I guess that's something to be watching out for sure.
So let's go back to some international pairs. There's Vanessa James
and Morgan Surprise from France, yeah.
Yes, a very sexual pair.
Yeah, what I love about them is that they are a team. Okay, so again, like this goes back to like my own thoughts of skating. Like sometimes I feel so I may want to do a video of this one time someday in the future, but there's a little bit of lack of diversity in figure skating, as we all can probably notice. And seeing a black skater is always something that inspires me. And the fact that they came on so strong for the last couple of seasons and to see them break through at the World Team Trophy this past season was great to see. And if they can continue on that momentum, I am praying to whoever
you pray to,
that they do well internationally, because Vanessa, hot. Morgan, hot. And if they can just be consistent, then there you go. You got a great team.
I think they're this close to being top 5 material at a Worlds or Olympics.
That's great.
My memory is fading a little bit. Is their issue consistency? So it's like when they're perfect technically, they're good? Like they place well?
I think they place relatively well, but it's always like this. Medals are always kind of like iffy, but they always tend to get like top 5 if they're consistent. But last season they were able to break through and win their first medal at Europeans. So they're right up there if they're consistent, because they also have a throw quad as well.
I was just going to ask, what is their difficult element? It seems like every pair has to have one. So the throw quad style is theirs. Nice. And then, another pair I want to mention, because I think they're great, is Valentina Marquet and Andre Hateric of Italy. They made history because they place in the top 10 in Helsinki Worlds, Italy is granted 2 pair teams at the Olympics for the first time ever.
The interesting thing is, I hope that there's other teams in Italy that have the minimum scores, because the times have changed a lot in skating. Where
Yeah.
Scores.
If I were the federation, pick who that team is, send them to every senior B until they beat the minimum scores.
Yeah, because this sport has progressed a lot in the last couple of years, where now you have to get minimum scores.
That's
Otherwise,
really unfortunate. Otherwise, you just forfeit it.
and that's kind of the same situation with Trusenbayeva, where now they have 2 spots for Kazakhstan, but then if there's no minimum scores, then you forfeit a team. So it is very exciting, though.
One thing I want to say about Valentina and Andre is they have so much personality.
Mm-hmm. The programs are always very interesting.
And they're fun. Like, I'm not sure this is the best thing to say. It doesn't make a champion, but watching them skate together makes me want to be their best friends.
And I think that's what's so great about figure skating, is that when you see a program, you kind of like get to know who they are. And they always pick the most enjoyable programs. Like, they always seem to be having fun. And I think that's something that is sometimes lacking in skating. So I love that they think a little bit outside the box and they just have fun.
Yeah, they usually choose good programs too. Very crowd-pleasing.
Agreed.
Okay, so time to discuss the last discipline, and it is dance. And unfortunately, we don't have Nicole, our dance expert, with us today, so we're just going to have to make do with that. But I will say, you probably know this is my opinion. I think Tessa Virtue and Scott Moyer of Canada are the ones to beat.
They are the current world champions.
And weren't they really undefeated last season? Yeah, they won the 4 continents Grand Prix final. Yeah, no, I think it's in their favor. The French, Papadakis and Cizeron, are so close behind, though. Like, close behind. I don't know.
Okay.
I see Tessa and Scott having the edge for whatever reason. And it's not that they're better than the French. They're just different. Both are great 2 top teams. Any of the Americans dance teams wishes they were one of the 2. But they're different. But yeah, give me your opinions.
So just a throwback, I guess you can say, like back in the 2001-2002 Olympic season, leading up to the Salt Lake Olympic Games, the Grand Prix final was very telling, especially in the ladies event, where it was like Arina Slutskaya versus Michelle Kwan. Whoever won the Grand Prix final that season had like a small edge going into the Olympic Games, and I feel like that history might repeat itself, but in a different discipline, which is the ice dance. So obviously, unless they're going head to head at a Grand Prix, which they're not. Okay, so when it comes to the Grand Prix final, obviously these 2 teams are going to be there. Whoever wins out at the Grand Prix final this season will be the leading team going into the Olympic Games, and that will probably be how the Olympics will play out.
I think there's an important caveat, though, too, to mention about whoever wins the Grand Prix final. Whoever wins the Grand Prix final when they're both mistake-free.
And I believe that they will both be mistake-free, because they're not going to just give up that spot, right? Like that right away. So I do have to give the edge to Tessa Virtue and Scott Moyer at this point. But as you said, Justin, like it's very close between them and the French team of Gabriella Papadakis and Guillaume.
Do you know what it might come down to? What their programs are.
Agreed, yeah. I really hope that the French does not play it safe, because they played it a little bit safe last season. I know I'm going to get some Gabriella Papadakis and Guillaume Cizeron haters here.
In my personal opinion, I thought Tessa and Scott's free dance was a tad bit boring. I was all about that short dance. Free dance wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, they both played it a little bit conservatively by going for like a slower tempo kind of program. But I really hope that since the sport is progressing, and now like with vocals, like I really hope that they push the boundary a little bit by doing something a little bit more contemporary, maybe a little bit more upbeat, something to get the audience going. again, personal taste, really. Like, what do you look for in a champion? Is going to be what it comes down to.
So, other words, you're saying who are the judges and who's the tech caller?
That might be what it comes down to. Like last season, I think a lot of people were questioning when Chalk and Bates did really well at Skate Canada. They were like, "Oh, that technical caller must have been pro Igor." La 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 la. So it'll be interesting to see how like these technical callers are gonna stir the pot per se. So
That's right. Do you think the Shibutanis are going to
it's
be the ones that are a solid
bronze.
bronze at Olympics?
I don't know. I forgot what the dance pattern for this season is, but
Isn't it the
I
short,
think
like Latin,
I
something
have
like
no
that?
idea. Nicole told me, and I'm sure Nicole will comment.
I'm pretty sure it's Latin.
You
Okay.
sure it's Latin?
I'm 85% sure. So let's go
All
with
right.
that.
So a lot of people have been saying, or if I remember reading, that the dance pattern for this season is not in favor of the Shibutanis, being that they are a brother-sister team, and sometimes that limits their what they can do as far as different styles go.
They can't skate to a program where they're romantically involved with each other.
Like they could, but it'll look very awkward.
Please don't. If
These,
Maya and Alex, if you're watching, please don't.
yeah, we're not pushing incest at all. That's not what we're doing. But
Okay. So speaking of the Shibs, sorry, I'm going to keep this moving along.
go right
The
ahead.
other top American pairs also have a good shot internationally to do well. We have Madison Chalk and Evan Bates, and then Madison Hubble and Zach Donahue. And I will say Madison Chalk and Evan Bates are known for being the number 2 American pair, but last season it almost kind of looked close with Madison Chalk making some errors and Madison Hubble and Zach Donahue having that amazing free dance.
Yeah, it was very telling. Like I feel like it's very close between these top 3 ice dance teams from the United States because, again, like the short dance is not really catered towards the Shibs, but then there's Chalk and Bates, who, according to a lot of skating critiques, don't have the skating like
I'm
edges.
aware those people come after me
They come after you a lot, yeah.
because I love Madison Chalk and Evan Bates, and I will say, so I love them. Can they choose better programs this season, please? Because I don't think their music last season completely worked. Yes, I saw that they were going out of the box.
I like their free dance more than their short
Don't go
dance.
too out of the box this season, or make sure other people like it.
So it'll be very interesting, really. Like I feel like Hubble and Donahue definitely do have that ability to contend with the top
Okay, do
team.
they have that ability though? Because I was talking with Nicole, and it seems like every time the doors open for them to skate ahead, they kind of falter. I mean, they've had some bad falls just last season alone.
Poor Zach, poor Maddie. Like
Do you think it's the story of like wanting it too much or thinking about it?
it's a possibility. Like I don't know what happened at the World Championships. Like maybe it was like a lapse of concentration from Zach, but they had a moment going for them up to that fall, and I honestly feel like if they were able to skate that program without any mistakes, they would have been on the podium, beating out the Shibs. And I love the Shibs, so I believe that this season they all need to come out strong. And if there's going to be a flip in the podium, it'll happen during the Grand Prix season. Like we will know it clear. It'll be very clear to us exactly how the ice dance event is going to play out at nationals and possibly at the Olympics as well.
Absolutely. So let's see. I feel like we're missing a team. The
Rush.
Italians or the
Italians.
Russians?
Both of those two teams, yep.
Yeah, so I have it right in front of me. So the Russian dance team, they were 5th last year at Worlds. Ekaterina Bobrova and Dmitry Soloviev.
Soloviev, yep.
And then Anna Kapelin and Luka Lenote.
So the Russian team is known infamously for their whole Milodonium situation, because she had to take like a season off because of that whole incident. But they'll always be up there. I feel like there is going to be the game with the ice dance is that there's always politics that are playing in, and I don't think that Russia wants to give up a podium place at the Olympic Games.
It's going to be hard for them to place on the podium and dance, though. Let's be real.
It's going to be difficult, but I wouldn't put it past them to get someone on the podium. And I believe that they are the top Russian ice dance team at this point. Mm-hmm. So, my favorite Russian team is actually the team of Ivan Bukin and his partner, which I'm forgetting, unfortunately.
Which country?
Russia.
Oh, they did not perform well. Ivan Bukin, Alexandra
Stepanova, yeah. I like them. I think that they kind of have this quality where they seem to be having fun. And again, like when skaters have fun, I have fun watching them. So that's actually my favorite Russian team, in case anyone's wondering.
So this will be the last dance pair that we mentioned, but I just want to say who I think has an outside shot to mix things up, and not necessarily mix things up like top 3 at Olympics, but mix things up in like, the 4th to 6th place are Caitlin Weaver and Andrew Poche of Canada.
I love their free dance last season.
I think a lot of people have written them out, including myself in the past, not going to lie, because of the return of Tessa Virtue and Scott Moyer. I don't know. They're obviously still really hungry. Maybe a little upset they're not the top dance team, and they're still good. I think the thing is they have zero room for error. Andrew Poche.
Twizzles, yeah, those twizzles are...
There's zero room for error.
I agree. Like this ice dance, like there's always these top teams that are always going to be in the top 7, and that includes Weaver and Poche, Anna Kliplanini, and Lunote. Like it's very, it's tough.
That's
it's
right.
Tough.
And you and I, we're not dance experts. I am far from being a dance expert, but I try to read the protocols. It almost seems like sometimes what can be an issue for dance teams is holding a lift too long. Like there's a -1 deduction if you hold a lift for too long. And it's funny, the average viewer will look and not realize that's a deduction.
Yeah, and we need to look at the World Championships protocols from last season. And if I remember correctly, from the ice dance event, in the short dance in particular, I believe everyone was a little bit shocked when Madison Hubble and Zach Donahue were leading ahead of the Shibatanis, who are known to being technically proficient in the short dance. And I think that since ice dance, there's not really many deductions. There's just levels that kind of get lowered. It'll be interesting to see exactly how these levels will play out.
And there's controversial calls. Like, remember when Tessa and Scott put his hand down after a twizzle?
Yeah.
There was a conversation, was it during the twizzle, was it out? And yeah, it depends. A call makes a big difference. So who's that caller that doesn't like Ashley Wagner? He can't be at the Olympics.
Yeah, we will see who's the technical caller.
No, you know his name. Say his name.
I forgot his name.
The Japanese one.
Mari something?
Yeah. Anyways, if you're watching this video, you probably know which one we're talking about. Let's light candles and make sure he's not at the Olympics.
There you go. We can be like TSL, Justin, and light candles.
We'll join them, yes. Dave, please invite us to your candle burning parties. From the West Coast, yeah, because we're both on the West Coast and he's on the East Coast. No, we'll do a West Coast candle lighting party. How's that?
Yeah, if anyone else wants to join, go right ahead, because we're like down to doing that.
All right, well, Kanishka, this has been fun. This video is a lot longer than I thought it was going to be.
But there'll be probably some editing. Hopefully.
No, it's still going to be long with the edits. It's okay, but I hope everyone appreciated this. Obviously, it's during the off season, and Kanishka, I don't know about you, but I actually kind of like completely tune out of skating during the off season. Like, it's summer in Seattle, you take advantage of the sunshine when it's out. So I haven't read all the Ice Network articles. I see a lot of the headlines, but I don't click on the articles to read. I don't know all the skaters' programs. I personally prefer to be surprised in the fall at their first competitions. So we made this video just, for all of you fans and viewers who needed something to kill your time with.
Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed it, and make sure you guys get in the conversation, because that's what makes our days, really, is just to interact with the fans. So
yeah.
Thank you for watching.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.